Let's pray. I want to pray over the message I'm excited about today. Would you extend your hands towards me and let's ask the Lord to bless it. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for the chance for us to worship together. Thank you for the chance for us to encourage each other, to come around each other when we're struggling with difficulties or loss, fear, anxiety of the future. We need this, Lord. We need to be together. And we thank you for that. Would you speak to us today? We don't want to hear what Lee Graham has to say. We want to hear what the Spirit of God says to this church, to these people, to our brothers and sisters, to us, to me. So Lord, open my ears, open my eyes, open my heart so that my spiritual man, my inner person can see, can hear, and can be changed. In Jesus' name, we all said, amen. Thank you, guys. It's hard for me to believe that we are at the end of this series of messages. When we first got here, I think I shared with you a little ways back that I was asking the Lord, what do you want me to talk on? And at first, it was just a couple of messages that I had in my mind about faith. Faith's a very common topic for Christian conversation. It's a very common topic for pastors to preach on. But the more the Lord opened up this study, opened up this perspective for me, the more I realized, man, this is one of the richest things that we can dwell on, process, and talk about. It's one of the things that is the most significant in terms of permeating every decision, every perspective, every choice, every emotion of our lives. And we're wrapping it all up today. We're wrapping up what we've talked about for 19 Sundays, the subject of faith. Faith is an interesting thing. We talk to people who don't know Jesus, or we talk to people who are even maybe interested in Jesus, or even people who have been Christians for decades. We talk to them about faith. You've got to have faith. Faith is what gets you through. We read passages to them like 1 John chapter 5, verses 4 and 5. In fact, there's an old hymn called Faith is the Victory. Probably a lot of us older people remember that. You remember that? Faith is the victory that overcomes the world. So there's one other older person in the audience. I see me and you. We're the seniors here. Okay. 1 John 5 verses 4 and 5 says, every child of God defeats this evil world, and we achieve this victory through our faith. Who can win the battle against the world? Only those who believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Now you may look at that verse and you may think, well, it may not even register with you what John is saying. But if you put it in the context of what he's really talking about, when you face struggles in life, when you're overwhelmed, when you're wounded, when someone hurts you, when someone discourages you, when circumstances don't go the way, when you get to a place and you're like, I'm done. I can't do this. What John is saying is that in those moments, faith is what not just will get you through, but faith will win in your life in those situations. It will overcome. This isn't just some, super spiritual, hard to grasp kind of random idea that you really can't put teeth. This is everyday life. This is the struggles that we all face in whatever forms they come to us in our individual lives. And John is saying, faith is what gets you through. Faith is what will help you win. It's what will help you overcome anything that this world throws at you. That's hard to believe, isn't it? It's hard to believe sometimes because what this world throws at us seems so big, so strong, For some of us, it seems to last so long. And the seasons of struggles get us to a place where our lives are just fear and anxiety. Have you ever looked forward to going to sleep at night because that's the only time that you feel like you've got some rest, that you feel like you've got some peace, that you feel like at least I don't have to worry about things. I can get under these covers, I can shut the door, I can pull down the shades, and I'm safe. And morning comes and you see the light coming through and you know you got to get up, you know you got to start the day, and you're dreading it. There are people who have said to me over the years, in doing ministry, in meeting Christians and in meeting people who aren't Christians, meeting people who have been Christians but aren't sure if it works. Do you know what their number one statement to me is? Do you know what their number one concern or complaint or struggle is with having faith? Anybody? You know, the number one question that people ask when they're grappling whether or not there's a God who loves them and who is for them. Anybody? Yes. If God is who you say He is, if He's love, if He's good, if He cares about me, why does He let the things happen to me that happen to me in my life? Why does He let the things happen to the ones I love in their life? Why does it seem so hard? Why does it seem so long? Why can't so-and-so catch a break? And we ask the question, why doesn't God do something? Why does God allow suffering? Why doesn't He just come down and fix it so that I can live a life for Him? I want to answer that question today. And I want to answer it with what we've talked about for 19 Sundays. I want to answer it with how faith wins. There's this great passage in James chapter 1, and we quote it, we know it, we share it, but there's big parts of our lives that we don't believe it, and we don't understand it. And you know what it is. James chapter 1, verse 2, count it all what? Joy, brothers. Be happy when you encounter various trials, when you struggle, when you suffer, when life is really hard and you're overwhelmed and you dread the morning. James says, count it all. Be happy about that. Be joyful about that. That hardly makes sense to us. But he goes on. James says, you look in your notes there, brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, might want to underline that, when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow, so let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. Faith is the gift that God gives us to counter the suffering that we face in this world. Jesus said in His prayer right before He was taken and was crucified, He said, I'm praying for my disciples. And I'm not just praying for the ones here and now with me. I'm praying for all those disciples who will come after. He was praying for us. And He was praying and He was saying, I don't pray that you take them out of the world. In other words, I'm not asking you, God, to remove suffering from their lives. But what I am asking is that you give them the ability, you give them the tool, you give them the faith to weather it, to stand strong, and to mature from it. What is this endurance that James talks about? Is it just getting through? Is it just, everything stinks, but I'm just going to try to hang in there until the end? That's not how he describes it. He describes it, first of all, as something that lasts, something that's eternal, something that doesn't go away. And he links joy to it. And I want to say the first thing to you about how we overcome the world, why God allows suffering, why God gives us faith to counter that suffering, is because He knows that that is the only way that we can develop something in our lives called lasting joy. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. I'm going to say something that might surprise you. And you can quote me, but I want you to listen to the rest of what I have to say after I say it. What if God doesn't want you to be happy? Now listen to me. What if God doesn't want you to be happy? Well, what is happy? This world gives us all kinds of definitions. It redefines the words that God gave us, the truths that God gave us, the principles God gave us. The world redefines those, gives us counterfeits of them, and wants us to live our lives according to them. The world's happy is a fickle thing. I'm so happy. Why? Because I got this new car. I'm so happy. Why? Because she's going to be my girlfriend. How about that? I'm so happy because I got a good grade, because I passed my test, because I got all A's. I'm so happy because I got the job that I wanted. Don't you see that the world's happiness is completely dependent on what? Circumstances. It will always trick you. It will always keep you in this in-between, up and down, because circumstances will always change. And if you're happy is something that doesn't ground you, isn't a foundation, that can't keep you steady, that can't help you endure, if you're up and down in your faith, in your moods, in your emotions, what a miserable life that is. And that's what the world's offering you with happy. God doesn't want you to be happy. God wants to, He loves you so much that He wants to give you something far better than the world's happy. It's the same thing with the way the world redefines love, right? Oh, I love him so much. Daddy, I love him, the Little Mermaid thing, right? And the world says, yeah, you can love them, but guess what? 5 years later, I don't like how much weight they've gained. I don't like how they talk to me. I don't think I love you anymore. I think I've fallen out of love with you. That's the world's love. It comes and it goes, and it does not endure. And God says, no, I've got something a lot better for you than that kind of love. I've got something a lot better for you than that kind of happy. God doesn't want you to be happy. He wants you to have lasting joy. And listen to me, my friends. The only way to get through to that gift of lasting joy is to be tempered in your life with struggles and to use that gift of faith to meet those struggles head on. And it makes you stronger. How does it make you stronger? It builds something in you that over time, more and more, helps you to learn, helps you to believe, and I mean really believe, that circumstances, that people, whether or not they like or don't like you, doesn't drive your identity, doesn't drive your worth, doesn't determine your life. Faith, meeting suffering and getting through it, and God being faithful, it begins to teach in you, it begins to plant in you a belief that I don't have to be controlled by the up and down, crazy, fickle circumstances of this world and of man's definitions. I can have a lasting joy that God is with me and that He will never, ever leave me. And it leads to the next point. What I'm really talking about is not just lasting joy. What I'm really talking about now is lasting character. God doesn't want you to be happy. He wants you to grow up. He wants you to mature. He wants you to have something much better than the play toy in the nursery of life called happiness. He wants to give you lasting things. Things that won't ever fail. Things that will endure. Things that no matter what happens in your life, you're still standing. And this lasting character is the peace that I want us to spend a little time talking about. I love trees. And when we said yes to come out to Nebraska, I was worried that there were no trees. When you hear about Nebraska in other parts of the world, you think it's just flat, no trees, Mad Max into the world kind of a scenario, right? You look over it's beautiful here. The rivers, the rolling hills, the green, the trees. I sit on this porch. I am a professional porch sitter, if you don't know that, but I sit on my porch, and any of you are welcome to join me anytime you want to. I sit on my porch and I pray. I pray over you. I pray over my boys. I pray over my daughters. I pray over my wife. I pray over this town. I pray over our church. And it just so happens that I sit on that porch swing, and my view is this big old tree right outside the church. Now, I saw from Google Maps, you used to have a tree over here, didn't you? I don't know what happened to that. Somebody cut that down or get struck or something? Died off. Not this one. This is a beautiful tree, man. And I look at a tree, and when I'm praying, I literally think that tree, it's like a metaphor of life. I look at that tree and I think, man, what stories could that tree tell? What has it experienced here? It's seen tornadoes. It's seen lightning very close. It's seen hail. It's seen storms. It's seen drought. It's seen probably too much rain sometimes. If we were to cut that tree, which I would be very against, but if we were to cut it, and if we were to look at it, what would you see? You'd see all these rings, right? And what do these rings represent? A year of that tree's life. And if you look closely at the rings, they're different. The wider rings are rings where there's been plenty of rain, and it's grown, and it's been good years. The thin, darker rings, what do they suggest? What's that? What's caused the shorter growing season? Drought. People that know about trees say that it also can be insect or some other kind of disease or damage, and it narrows that ring. You might even see a real dark circle if there's been a fire in the forest and that tree had to deal with a fire up against its bark, and it scars the tree all the way around. You can see that in the life of the tree. But the bigger the tree, the bigger a lifespan, and you can see all the different things this tree's had to endure. And yet there it is. Thicker, stronger, taller, deeper. That's why the psalmist said, in fact, that's why he opened the book of Psalms with this: the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked. In our way of saying today, the joys of the people who don't live their lives defined by how the world defines happy, love, believe in yourself. The joys of those who don't listen to that, or stand around with sinners, or join in with the mockers. They delight in the law of the Lord. They meditate on it day and night. They are like trees planted along the riverbank, bearing fruit in each season. It doesn't matter if it's drought or not. Their roots are deep enough, they've got fruit. Their leaves don't wither. Whether there's a drought, whether there's insects, whether there's a fire, their leaves don't wither. They're deep enough, they're strong enough, they're thick enough, they're tall enough. And they prosper in all that they do. My friends, suffering, the troubles of our life, the difficulties that we all wish we could avoid and try to, instead of avoiding or running from them, if we would embrace them with the gift of faith, then God will take that interaction, He will take that circumstance, He will take that situation, and He will grow in you, and He will grow in me lasting character. Not immature, spoiled, rotten, fickle people, but people who they're like trees. They keep standing. They're always there. And they won't let you down. God is building in us something so much bigger, so much better, so much more lasting than happy. He's building joy, lasting joy. He's giving us so much more than just things or what we want or what our list is for us to be happy. He's giving us character. He's building maturity. He's growing us up. Not only so that we can enjoy that and benefit from that ourselves, but so that we can be that for our friends, for our family, for a world that's confused at the counterfeit definitions that it's given in life. The final thing I think that faith is meant to do. Faith is very closely associated with hope. Faith is the belief that even though everything around me seems to be saying to me, you're done, it's over, you're nothing, you're lost, you're a loser. Even though I feel like everything around me from every direction is saying that, faith pushes back against that and says, oh no. Oh, it ain't over. It ain't over. Has nothing to do with the fat lady singing. It has everything to do with the King of all kings that you just sang about, and that He's not just your king, He's your dad. He's your best friend. He's the one that's before you and behind you. He's the one that fights your battles. He's not going to remove you from the battlefield. He's not going to stop all bad things from happening because He wants you to grow up. He wants to give you everlasting joy. He wants to give you everlasting character, and He can't do that without trial, without struggle, without suffering. It's like suffering and faith. It's like God carves out of us a capacity for Him. Follow what I'm saying. Lee Graham, just in and of himself, is full of himself. But God wants more for Lee Graham than for him to be full of himself, because that only goes so far. So he starts carving. He starts emptying. Man, that hurts. You start getting your inner self carved out with suffering, with difficulty, with disappointment, with discouragement. It hurts, and it hurts bad, and it feels like this is going to kill me. Yeah, thank you. Amen. Listen, that place that he's carving out with suffering, that place that he's carving out with difficulty, that place he's carving out with trial, you don't realize it at first, but it starts filling up. It starts filling up with faith. It starts filling up with joy. It starts filling up with love. It starts filling up with hope. The kind that the Bible says will not disappoint. This is nothing new, brothers and sisters. Christians of the first century who honestly went through a lot more than we've gone through for being Christians. But it's coming. It's coming. And so they're a good lesson for us. In Hebrews, he says to the Hebrew Christians, think back on the early days when you first learned about Christ. Remember how you remained faithful even though it meant terrible suffering. Any of you remember that when you first became a Christian, you thought things were going to be great, and then all of a sudden it felt like it was harder, not easier? Anybody have that? Sometimes you were exposed to public ridicule because you were a Christian. Sometimes you were beaten. Sometimes you helped others who were suffering the same things. You suffered along with those who were thrown into jail when all you owned was taken from you, and you accepted it with joy. How? You knew there were better things. You knew that God had something so much better waiting for you that will last forever, that will endure. Not just someday in heaven, now. So do not throw away this confident trust in God. Remember the great reward it brings you. Patient endurance is what you need now. That's it. When people say, why does God let bad things happen? Why does God let suffering? Why doesn't God change this in my life? Because you need patient endurance. Because that patient endurance, that faith, will build in you a lasting joy, a lasting character, a lasting hope, so that you'll continue to do God's will and you will receive all that He has promised. My righteous ones, this is God speaking to us. My righteous ones, the people that really follow me, they live by their faith. We're not like those who turn away from God to their own destruction. We are the faithful ones whose souls will be saved. We are all in. All in. We're not hesitating. We're not staying back to see whether or not it goes our way or not. We're all in faith. And regardless of what comes, we'll be standing. I invite the worship team up. I want to give you one more metaphor before I close out the message. What I'm teaching you, Jesus teaches over and over and over in the Gospels. The apostles teach over and over and over by the inspiration of the Holy Spirit in their letters to the churches. But I was struck with this one, and I found this painting that kind of illustrates it. You know it. You know the story. You know the metaphor. You're building a house. Your life is a house that you're building. You've either been building it for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, or you're starting to build it. You're starting to lay the foundation now. And Jesus says to you, if you're listening to me, if you're listening to what I'm telling you, you'll be like a wise person who builds their house on a rock, the rock of faith. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what comes. The rain can come, the floods can come, winds, tornadoes, they can slam against your life, the house of your faith. But it will not fall. For it's been founded on a faith that Jesus gives us. That's the victory that overcomes this world and anything it can throw at us. Let's stand. Let's worship this God we believe in.